Hello and welcome along to another edition of Robin and Jane in the Stalls. This week we're taking you back to the 1920s and a tale of murder, greed, corruption, exploitation, adultery, treachery, all the things we hold near and dear to our hearts. By now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The UK touring production of Chicago has arrived at Belfast Grand Opera House, and we were there, and you, I believe, are a Chicago virgin.
I am a Chicago virgin. This is something embarrassing to admit, but I have to say Chicago is my kind of musical for the reasons you outlined, really. It's sassy, it's sexy, and it has a delightful skepticism, really, about the human condition. We have these two women, these two murderers, and they did commit the crime.
Yeah.
They gunned down their lovers, you know, with a certain amount of panache, it has to be said. And then, amazingly, they get off, you know, by the endeavours of the wonderful Billy Flynn, the lawyer, who was played with some flair, I think, by Kevin Clifton of Strictly.
He was the big surprise for me because
Yes.
I didn't know he had such a good singing voice.
He has a good singing voice, and of course we know he can move quite well as well.
Yeah, and great charisma on stage as well.
He has got great on-stage charisma.
And
yes,
of course,
he filled the stage.
Yeah.
I mean, he did.
Now, this show is definitely one for the Strictly fans. You've got Kevin Clifton, but you've also got
Yes.
Jeanette Manrara playing the part of Roxy Hart as well, who, of course,
Yes,
is a
you have.
fabulous dancer.
Absolutely.
And, of course, the big thing that's always stood out about Chicago is the choreography.
The choreography is quite outstanding. What's the name of that very sexy number with all the female inmates?
The Cell Block Tango.
The Cell Block Tango. Now, the Cell Block Tango is something to behold. I'm not going to go into too many details. I don't think I can.
But
before
they did,
the watershed.
Yes, I mean, it has. But Chicago has been
honest.
described as the sexiest musical of all time.
Oh, I think it is.
And when you see the Cell Block Tango, you know exactly why.
You know exactly why.
And
yes,
of course, it's
you do.
packed with big numbers. All that jazz is in there as well.
Razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle, reach for the gun.
Reach for the gun.
You've
yes.
got the fabulous puppet scene as well, which that's
Yes,
my
you
favourite
have.
part. Mr. Cellophane is one of my favourite songs.
Oh, Mr.
in
Cellophane
it.
was very
When
touching.
poor old Amos doesn't get recognised, doesn't get any
Poor
recognition.
old Amos didn't get any recognition, the downtrodden husband. But he was delightful, particularly when he thought he was going to be a father. And of course, we know, spoiler alert, but people will know that that is not the case, sadly.
Yeah.
But he jumped about enthusiastically. But yes, he ends up by saying, has he taken too much of our time?
I know, exactly.
Which is very touching and very sad.
Now, something that did take up too much of the stage, I thought, was the orchestra.
Yes, it was.
Took up more of the stage than the actors did in the
It
actual
did.
scenes that were going on.
The band was on stage, which gave them an opportunity to do a bit of solo jazz in the second act and so on. But I felt that they were taking up so much of the stage that actually at times you felt the actors were just a little bit cramped.
You did.
I don't know if you felt that.
They still managed to get the dancing in as well.
They did.
But I know what you mean. They did seem a little cramped and a little too much towards the edge of the stage a lot,
Too
didn't
much
they?
towards
Yeah.
us. Yes, they did. Too
So,
much stage front.
I don't know what that was about. Is it to cut down costings on the touring production?
It could well be.
Or
That could be the reason.
Because I've seen
yes.
this show many times over the years. I mean, I remember seeing John Altman, who of course was
Yes.
Nasty Nick in
Oh, yes,
EastEnders.
Nasty Nick.
I saw him
Was
do
he good?
Billy Flynn. He was very good.
Yes.
I think I saw John Partridge play Billy Flynn
Yes.
at one stage as well.
Where do you think this production comes in the pantheon of Chicago's you've seen?
It's different,
Yes.
mainly because the orchestra are taking up most of the stage as
Stage,
well.
yes.
And I did produce a production
And
of it back in 2019 at the Crescent Arts Centre, where
Exactly.
we actually had different levels to perform on, and we had the cell scenes set out and stuff like that as well.
Yes.
We used more of the space, and we used, I forget, something like 50,000 rose petals.
Wow.
On stage throughout the run as well. There was rose petals flying everywhere on the
Yes.
stage. So there was, but that's what we did. If anybody came to see that, nearly 6 years ago now. Wow, that's
Wow.
scary as well, isn't
Yes.
it? And do you know who we haven't mentioned yet? Brenda Edwards
No,
is
we
in
must
this
do.
production playing the part of Mama Morton. And to play that part, you need somebody who's got a big, soulful voice. And of course, we know Brenda from The X Factor, Loose
Yes.
Women, of course, as well. But wow, what a voice that woman has.
Oh, she has an incredible voice and an incredible presence.
Yeah.
When she sings, you listen and the hairs go up on the back of the neck. Yes, they really do.
And of course, her
she's
big song,
sassy.
When You're Good to Mama, that's her big
When
big
You're
number
Good
as
to
well,
Mama,
yeah.
it came across, I thought, brilliantly. Yes, it was very good indeed.
So yeah, so we were there on the opening night, and of
We
course,
were.
with standing ovations all around, because who doesn't love Chicago?
Oh, everybody loves Chicago.
Everybody.
Yes.
Would you go and see it again?
I would certainly go and see it again. Yes, I certainly would. And particularly what I particularly liked was the ending where one of our heroines, Roxy, or perhaps anti-heroines, I don't know, she realises that she's got off this dreadful murder case and she would have been hanged. But she's just disappointed that she's no longer a celebrity because there's somebody newer who's taking up all the news headlines. And I quite like that as a journalist. The role of the press in
Yes,
this
yeah.
is quite well done and quite modern, really.
It is, isn't it? Even though it was set back in the 1920s,
Even though it's set back
which
in
is
the
scary
20s.
to think about now, is over 100 years ago.
It's over 100 years ago. We're talking about centenaries,
Yeah.
yes, that have been and gone. And yet the press were there scurrying about, looking for all the scandal and the dirt,
Doing
as
exactly
they are
what
today.
they're doing today.
Exactly.
Exactly, right. Time to do our final scores of the show. Of course, if you went to see Chicago at the Grand Opera House this week, let us know your thoughts. We always love to hear what you think of theatre productions as well. So today we're scoring. We have to score with the guns, really, don't we?
I think we have to
Because
go with the guns,
There's plenty of
yes.
shootings in the show, isn't there?
Yes,
So
there
we're going to
certainly
score with the guns. And I'm going to start with my scores because of top quality choreography, big songs, big performances. I'm going to give it 4 little guns. What about you, Jane?
Yes, I'm also going to award it 4 little guns, and I would certainly go again.
But Chicago, it's one of those shows that'll just run and run forever, won't it?
It will run and run forever, deservedly,
Yeah,
yes.
definitely.
Full of razzle-dazzle.
Indeed, right. You can catch Chicago at the Grand Opera House here in Belfast right through until Saturday. And we'll see you back in the stalls sometime very soon. Thank you for watching.
Bye.